TBS. This is a very special, very important reading today. And I need all of your help to do this. Somehow it's just like your energy from watching will somehow come to me to do this correctly. And I even wanted to tell you about the crystals I brought, because this has to be right. It has to be done right, because this is very important. I'm going to talk about the Shanann Watts and Cece Watts and Bella Watts and Nico Watts case. A lot of people call it the Chris Watts case because of the oddness of his psychology. But there's a trend, which I think is correct, that we should call it by the victims' names, because that's usually what happens. So this is about the Shanann Watts killing. And I have a lot of my own interpretation on it, especially about Nichol and Cindy Watts, Chris Watts' mom. But I think that I'd like to do a reading on it because it's really hard not to get obsessed with the case, I have to admit. This, of course, is quartz. A carnelian eyeball, ametrine, selenite, lepidolite, apophyllite, smoky quartz, ruby, Apache tear, and citrine. I usually make it look better, but I need to make sure that I focus completely on the cards. Not saying that the other cases mean more to me or are more important, but this one means more somehow because of all the mystery surrounding it. Everyone wants to be the person that solves it, why it happened, and all that. I know that if you clicked on this, it means you're obsessed with it probably too. Like I said, I have my own beliefs about it, but I want us to try today to figure out a little bit more and ask the cards to tell the story of what happened. Because we need this. Well, this is pretty loaded. Okay, so we have the Devil, the Tower, the Knight of Coins, and the Star. So, hope, dependability, destruction, and temptation. Obviously, all of these were at play in this horrible family drama, family tragedy. Partly that Chris thought that he would be able to stop what he was doing. He also knew that the world was crashing down on him, but the temptation was too strong for him, he said, and the stability that he had given for so long he couldn't deal with anymore. Now for Shanann, it was she had hope for everything to go back together. She wanted everything to be stable again, and she really depended on him being there and how much she loved him. But she saw that these two things were happening to Chris. And it just was scary. Now, Nichol saw hope of being with Chris, hope of him giving her stability, and she didn't care if chaos happened, and she didn't care if temptation came. She ignored these or considered them part of her own life, and she wanted these. Now, Cindy Watts, she didn't get wind of the problems until Chris went to visit North Carolina the last time. And then Cindy had hope for him to leave Shanann and to come back and be stable with them so that they would be safe. And she loves chaos, especially like if it belongs to someone else and it hurts someone else. And her temptation was that she hated Shanann. She had so much hatred, and that's like a sin. It was consuming her whole life, and she was becoming Satan-like. When I'm doing these readings for TBS, they're slightly different from what I would do when I do a reading for somebody, because I only have this much space, and I want to make sure that it goes through in a way where you can see it a little bit better. It's still telling the same story it would. And I know that this is fuzzy, and I got a GoPro, but I don't know how to use it yet, so someday I will use it. But until then, this is what it looks like. Okay. Celebration. Distress. And a prison, and starting over. So this is what all of them were doing as well. All of them really did want to start over. Cindy wanted Chris to come and start over with them. Chris wanted to start over with Nichol. Nichol wanted to start over with Chris. And Shanann wanted to start over with Chris. So you have 3 women wanting Chris to do what they want him to do. And not to give him any kind of excuse or pass, but when a person who thinks linearly like Chris does has 3 ladies coming at him with a bunch of emotion and demands, he pretty much can't even function or think, and he doesn't even know what to do at all. It isn't like he can logically sit down and go through. All he does is feel the emotions coming at him, and he shuts down. And I believe that he learned that from his mom. All right, so this is a little bit difficult, but it's talking about the family dynamic. It's talking about how there was a lot of jealousy going on, and even Shanann, who was known to be a very open and honest person, had a lot of jealousy going on towards whoever the other woman was. She was very upset, and she knew she couldn't fight the other person because she didn't know who she was. And the night that she was killed / morning, Shanann had begged Chris to tell her who the person was, and also why he did it, things like that. And then at the end, she may have threatened to take the kids away, but the problem with the Shanann persona is that what we know from her is not from her. So that's a little bit difficult. Okay, this is just saying that that Chris had been strong for a really long time, and it was overburdening him. He just couldn't. He couldn't give anymore the stability that people wanted, and his secrets were about to come out in an explosion because he couldn't be the nice facade that he always had shown to the world. He was in a prison that he didn't have to be in, but he thought he couldn't get out because he couldn't logically, because he isn't good at logical thinking when it comes to relationships. He didn't realize all the way that all he has to do is stop, think, and go backwards. He could have started over any way he wanted, but with him it wasn't about that. All he felt was emotional explosions. He had even been dreaming of and thinking of ways to be away from Nichol. He wanted to start over from everyone because he was sick of having to be who he had shown himself to be. Even though he thought that Nikki had accepted him as he really was in the beginning, he found out towards the end that it really wasn't true, and it became too much for him to handle. So when the truth came crashing down, he was already so far gone into rage and semi-hatred of ladies that all the passionate ladies in his life just probably were yelling in his head until he exploded and killed Shanann and the 3 children. His heart was broken for a little bit, but then he realized how popular he could be in prison. He felt like he had what other people wanted in prison. He had fame and he had special privilege, and so he felt like he could bestow his wisdom, etc., on the other inmates, and it made him feel really good about himself. He feels more at home in prison than he ever did on the outside. Excuse me. Yeah, whenever he was playing the night of romance, he couldn't really go anywhere. He just regretted what he was doing, and he felt like what he wanted was being torn apart, but he was building stuff for others. He knew he wasn't really that stable person that had all the money. And he wasn't the person that was charismatic. He was the second in command. He didn't look towards the future to see what could have been, and all he thought of was the problems that he felt at this point. His friends tried to bring him truth, but he wouldn't listen. And Shanann did too, but he wouldn't listen. At his job, he was celebrated. And he had Nichol at work and Shanann at home to love him. But instead of being tempered about it and having an affair like other men do, he went totally off the rails, having a compartmentalized, I guess what you would call autistic part of his brain. He's always lived as the hermit, but now he feels like he has the jackpot and that he's actually built something good. Even though he misses the children and sometimes he misses Shanann, he doesn't really miss Nichol. And he also is happy where he is. I hope he never gets let out, but this is trying to say that his mom and he are happier with this outcome than him having stayed with Shanann. And what's also hilarious is that Nichol and his mom are very similar. And Shanann and his mom are very similar. And he does not even realize that. He's learned to be more his real self in jail. And he feels like he is bringing truth to these people through religion and other life lessons he thinks he's learned. He even has ladies trying to be his girlfriend, and he's doing really well in that regard. He can't have physical contact, but anything else he wants from ladies, he's getting. And he's really is apathetic about how other people are living on the outside. As long as he doesn't go to Colorado doesn't have the death penalty now, but as long as he doesn't die there from unnatural causes, he'll be cool. He feels good. He feels like the shit, I guess you could call it. The man, the big person on campus. He has more of a chance to be happy than Shanann ever did, and Nichol. He has realized now that just from being a white man who is attractive and is educated, he has gotten to where he is, and that he is better than women. He feels like he's fought over his fear of his mother, his fear of Shanann, and now he is over it. He feels like he is not bisexual in his own mind, but the time will come when he starts to take lovers in jail because people want to be close to him. It's funny because usually a serial killer or a family killer, a family annihilator, they call it, they don't have charisma that's normal, but they do have charisma. And he does for some reason, and no one really understands it, but he definitely has what he wants now. And I think that's another reason why people hate him, because they know he cheated the system. He might even get an idea to swindle a lady into giving him certain things, like money and stuff. And there'll be a young boy that looks up to him, who comes from like a really poor background but is attractive, and Chris will take him under his wing, and they might be sexual. The thing about all of this is that in the end, this is what Chris has done to himself. He's hung himself and he's put himself to rest. I hope he never gets out. He hopes he never gets out, really. Once he starts the sexual part with the men, he'll feel like he's had it made because he has every single thing he needs then. I mean, I'm sure he would rather be with girls at first, but over time he'll get really used to it. And his mom is a lot happier now that he's not with Shanann and that he's in jail, and she goes on with her life. He doesn't worry about what she thinks anymore, but she's okay because he's not giving it to another woman. Shanann is gone, and Nichol is, let's see. Okay, this is saying that just Nichol is finding other men to be with and more romance, and she may have found religion like as a way, like just like Chris did, to give him props. Yeah, and she has a job where she's saving money, and she feels really good about her prospects in her life. She's changed her appearance, and she wants to have a kid. She's so glad that she got away with not being part of anything in the legal system, because she could have been charged as an accessory even though it wasn't all the way true, but she didn't, and she got away. She knows she's really lucky. And she still hears about everything that's going on and keeps tabs on that, but knows that she's free. So she's happy too. People don't want Chris and Nichol to be happy because they did something wrong and pretty much got away with it. This is difficult. Okay. I'm not sure about this one. But I think it's saying that the world will go on and time will pass and people will find out more and more will be revealed about this case and about Chris, Shanann, and Nichol and Cindy and the girls. And that unfortunately at some point they will stop being vilified. And people will fight over who did what in this till the end of time, pretty much so.